Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we are diving into something absolutely fascinating. We're unpacking a really vivid, intense ancient text that reveals 7 distinct heavenly realms. This source material gives us a completely mind-blowing perspective on spiritual urgency and cosmic architecture. So think of This Explainer as your ascending mentor's guide. We're going to journey together through this layered cosmological map, looking at exactly what a man named Enoch reportedly saw when he was escorted through the unseen dimensions above our world. And ultimately, we're going to figure out how to apply these lessons to supercharge your own spiritual devotion today.
Right off the bat, let's ground this exploration in some serious apostolic authority. You see, Jude, the biological brother of Jesus Christ, actually cited Enoch directly as a prophetic figure in the New Testament. Jude definitely didn't treat Enoch's words as some myth or fairy tale. He treated them as authoritative. And that really frames our entire narrative here, validating the text's historical and spiritual weight. It tells us that we aren't just looking at ancient fiction, but rather a profound spiritual vision that the absolute earliest believers took incredibly seriously. You know, what's really wild is how history has treated this text. Early church scholars absolutely revered these writings. Copies were even found tucked away among the famous Dead Sea Scrolls, which just goes to show how highly valued they were in antiquity. But as time went on, later theological traditions kind of sidelined the book, leaving these incredible visions in the shadows for centuries. Our goal today is to bring this source material back out into the light, objectively explore what it says, and see how these ancient perspectives can enrich our understanding right now.
So here's our game plan for this explainer. First, the authority. Second, order and rebellion. Third, paradise and torment. Fourth, celestial worship and silence. Fifth, scribes in the throne. And finally, applying spiritual lessons.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the authority of Enoch as a prophetic figure.
Moving right along to Section 2, order and rebellion in the first and second heavens.
So Genesis tells us Enoch walked so faithfully with God that he was literally taken up. He was uniquely removed from the earth without ever tasting death. And on his ascent up in the first heaven, he sees what's called the waters above. Now, he didn't see some fluffy, cloud-filled paradise. He saw a massive, vast cosmic reservoir. He observed highly structured angels flawlessly governing the actual atmospheric machinery. I mean, there are literally angels of snow, angels of hail, and angels of wind. The big takeaway here is perfect, unbroken order. It shows us that if God is meticulously orchestrating the atmospheric physics above our heads with dedicated angels, he is absolutely not careless about the tiny details of your daily life.
But wow, the text takes a sudden, really dark turn. In the second heaven, Enoch enters this heavy prison of thick darkness where fallen angels are bound in everlasting chains. These were once glorious beings who rebelled, and now they just exist in the state of heavy grief and conscious despair, waiting for final judgment. And what actually moved Enoch to tears was that their connection to God's throne was completely severed. They literally begged Enoch to intercede for them because their own voices couldn't even reach heaven anymore.
Which brings us to Section 3, paradise and torment, and the fixed chasm of the third heaven. Now imagine a massive, uncrossable chasm separating two totally distinct realities. On one side, for the righteous in the third heaven, it's a radiant garden overflowing with rivers of honey and oil filled with perfect peace. But then, remember those fallen angels in the second heaven, locked in cold darkness, heavy grief, and eternal chains? The source text makes it crystal clear that there is a fixed boundary between paradise and torment. It vividly illustrates the intense urgency of salvation. The choices we make in this life permanently determine which side of the third heaven we'll experience, showing us exactly where the dead go the literal moment they leave this earth.
Okay, on to Section 4, celestial worship and silence in the fourth and fifth heavens.
Ascending into the fourth heaven, Enoch witnesses the sun, the moon, and the stars. But they aren't just running on empty autopilot. They are physically escorted by celestial angels in a continuous, mathematically precise dance of unbroken worship. This specific angelic role proves something amazing. God's glory never hits the pause button. Even when you are fast asleep or maybe struggling through a really difficult season, the fourth heaven is just alive with this uninterrupted chorus of worship. But then you hit the fifth heaven, and it's just stark. It's a place of heavy, grief-laden, suffocating silence. Why? Because this is where the faithful watchers mourn. These are the powerful angels who actually stayed true to their post, and they're grieving the immense, catastrophic loss of their brothers who rebelled, fell to the earth, and corrupted it. This is a profound look at why personal faithfulness matters so deeply. The silent grief of these watchers really shows us the devastating ripple effects of abandoning your spiritual assignment.
Let's head up to section 5, scribes and the throne in the 6th and 7th heavens.
Before we meet the scribes in a sixth heaven, think about this for a second. How does your daily prayer actually connect to heaven, according to this ancient text? We kind of tend to treat prayer like words just vanishing into thin air, right? Well, let's see what the text says really happens.
So the sixth heaven is home to these highly intelligent scribal angels, and their duties are massive. They meticulously record every single unseen human deed and maintain the scrolls of remembrance. And that connects directly back to the biblical passages in the book of Revelation, which says the dead are judged according to what's written in the books. But here's the most beautiful part. These recording angels faithfully carry our whispered human prayers directly to the divine altar. Your daily prayers aren't lost in the void. They're physically handled by ancient beings and brought straight before God.
And finally, the journey hits the summit, the seventh heaven. The text describes this realm as just absolute blinding light. The Ancient of Days is seated upon a flaming throne, surrounded by unceasing seraphim crying out, "Holy, holy, holy." It was so intense that Enoch couldn't even stand on his own 2 feet here. This vision is the ultimate reminder of God's sovereign authority. He isn't some distant, abstract concept. He is the living, breathing ruler of all 7 heavens.
All right, wrapping things up with section 6, applying spiritual lessons. This is your mentor's guide to daily growth. So, as your mentor here, I want to give you a practical guide for taking these intense visions and actually using them for your own spiritual growth. Think about the scribal angels in the 6th heaven. Knowing they are there should absolutely inspire a habit of consistent morning prayer. Reflecting on the silent grief of the watchers in the 5th heaven, that teaches us that our personal faithfulness really matters, encouraging us to maintain our spiritual focus and integrity even when our daily routines get crazy busy. And remembering those perfectly ordered angels in the 1st heaven, that helps us trust God with our daily anxieties. This is exactly how we translate ancient visions into deeper spiritual devotion today. And it all really boils down to this single number, 1. The source text frames its entire urgency around the idea that every single human being is living just one heartbeat away from stepping into the eternal realities shown in these heavens. The fixed chasm of the 3rd heaven is waiting. It's a profound, intense call to apply the urgency of salvation to our modern lives with both intentionality and grace.
So, I want to leave you with this provocative thought. Knowing that your choices literally resonate through these 7 heavens, and knowing that your prayers are carried directly to the Ancient of Days, how are you going to use this intense ancient perspective to fuel your own spiritual growth starting today? Thank you so much for exploring this remarkable text with me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep seeking, and let these incredible insights guide your path forward.